Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Let's do this again. Good evening, everyone. Hi, it's good to see you guys. I'm sorry for being a few moments late. You know I'm never late, but things happen, so please pardon me. I apologize. So we're going to open up the meeting. We don't have quorum, but that's okay. We can still start the meeting, and as we get quorum, then we'll move to the agenda items in which we require a vote, so it doesn't make sense to delay the meeting. The minutes that you received, there's an error. We have 3 presentations this evening. We have a presentation from the New York City Transit, and we also have a presentation from an organization called the Jeremiah Program, and I apologize to you for that. And then we have the Prosper Park Alliance. We're going to also switch the order of the minutes. We're going to do the Prosper Park Alliance last because that's the one that requires the vote. So I know that the New York City Transit on OMNY, the Transit New Fare Payment System, the representative, Mr. Wayne London, has to leave. So, Lyndon? Leiden. Okay, well, I was told you had to leave early.
That was my boss, and he's gone.
Okay, well, anyway, since we don't have to vote on you, it makes sense for you to go on, and then we'll do the other group. So who's the presenter this evening? Okay, so please go to the podium, introduce yourselves, and we'll start. Thank you again.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andy Inglesby. I am Assistant Director for Government and Community Relations for New York City Transit. It's always good to see everybody here. I'm going to very quickly turn it over to my colleague, Wayne Leiden. We have a short presentation today on Omni, One Metro New York. It's the new fare payment for MTA, New York City Transit. We'll walk you through the program, and then we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that come up. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Wayne.
Thank you, Andy. My boss, Al Petray, apologizes for not being able to come tonight. He had to go to a memorial service, so you're getting me. The benefit that you get is that Al is from Queens, and I'm from Brooklyn.
All right now.
Born here, living here, born and bred till I'm dead. So Omni. Omni is built on the concept that we are, let's get the hang of it here. Omni's the MTA's new fare payment system. It's built on the concept of One Metro New York. The name is a twist on the prefix Omni, which means all or of all things. And Omni is going to be a way for all of us to come together, bring all of our communities together, connecting them, bring the diversity and energy of the New York region together. Omni is about making transit more convenient. It's a contactless payment system designed to make transit faster and to give customers more choices about how, when, and where they pay their fare. Omni is also part of the MTA's modernization efforts. It's being built with the latest payment technology, and it's being backed up with the latest payment security standards. In late May, we will do a public pilot launch in Manhattan at 13 stations, in Brooklyn at 3 stations, and on all buses in Staten Island. These will be stations along the Lex line from Grand Central down to Barclay Center, Atlantic Avenue. Omni is a huge project covering not just New York City Transit, but also MTA Long Island Railroad, MTA Metro North, and other agencies in the area that accept MetroCard. And it has many features that will be rolled out in a number of phases over the next few years. The last bullet on this slide is one that I can't stress enough, and that I will stress several times while I'm here with you tonight. Omni, the new payment system, will operate side by side with MetroCard until Omni is fully operational, is service proven, and has adapted and covered all of the fare programs and products that you're used to today with MetroCard. So even though we will be rolling out Omni in stages, and that it won't cater to everyone initially, by the end of the project, everyone, Omni means all, everyone will be included. And that point, when we know that the system is working functioning perfectly and that it's secure, at that point, MetroCard will be retired. Again, Omni is about giving customers choice when they can pay their fare, where and how they pay their fare. So we show the transition here from the token. I can tell you that I'm happy to have been on the team that introduced MetroCard in 1994. So I have a little bit of experience in this area. And now we're moving to Omni. The first part of Omni will deal with contactless bank-issued credit or debit cards. And that's what you're going to see being used in the stations and on the buses at the end of May. It will also include smart devices using digital wallets like Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and Google Pay. Now, we know that everybody does not have contactless bank accounts, does not have mobile phones. So in a couple of years, we will introduce the Omni card, an MTA-issued card, which customers will be able to buy at a retail network, and they will be able to purchase with cash. So again, Omni is about all of us coming together. We're not trying to exclude everyone, and until everyone can be part of the system, MetroCard will be running side by side. Customers will also be able to manage their accounts. They'll be able to see where they rode in the system, and they can go, there'll be a website associated with Omni, and there will also be a mobile app associated with Omni. The mobile app will start in the fall of this year with some basic functions, such as being able to check where you boarded the system. Like everything else in this project, we start small and we layer things on as we know that we've achieved each portion of the project and that we've got it right. That's an important point I'll just make. I'll go off script here and just say, a huge part of this project is making sure that we've got it right. In Chicago, they had some issues with rolling out the whole system at one time. It almost got the mayor fired. It's not something that we want to do here. And we're talking about dealing with people's credit cards and bank accounts. It's something that you don't want to mess with, you don't want to get wrong, and you want to make sure it's secure and safe. And we know our customers want that, and they deserve that. We're one Metro New York. I mentioned earlier that Omni is not just for New York City Transit, although New York City Transit, the buses and the subways, will be the initial focus of the program. We will be incorporating Long Island Railroad and Metro North into the program in 2021, and other regional agencies that currently accept MetroCard will also be brought into the program once we know that we've done New York City Transit right. That would include Roosevelt Island Tram, for example, Westchester B-Line buses, Nice Bus, PATH, JFK AirTrain. And we're also in discussions with other agencies that don't currently accept MetroCard to see how we can integrate them into the system. We also anticipate bringing the Access-a-Ride program on board into the program pending the MTA's board's approval of an additional piece of the program. So what are the benefits of Omni? Well, for customers, it's an account-based system. So once you set it up, if you tie it to a funding source, you never have to look at it again, sort of like Easy Pass. You don't have to wait in line at a vending machine. You don't have to make it, if you're a bus customer, you don't have to make a special trip to the subway station to refill the card. And it'll be one device that you can use to pay for transportation throughout the region. For improving service, we expect to introduce all-door boarding in the next several years. And President Andy Byford at New York City Transit has made that a part of his Fast Forward program. And having a reader, we will introduce readers at the back doors of the buses so that you'll be able to pay on the front of the bus, the back of the bus, or the far back of the bus for those long articulated buses that are now out there. It will also allow us, for those SBS routes, that we can put fare collection back on the bus. You'll have readers on the bus, and we can get rid of the fare collection equipment that's currently used in the street for select bus service. This is a much more efficient way of doing business, and we don't have to send maintainers all around the city trying to maintain equipment that's being vandalized or is exposed to the weather outside. And for the planet, by using cards and the devices that many of our customers already have, we reduce our carbon footprint. Internal testing. So I'm happy to report that internal testing has already started. If I could just show, by a show of hands, how many people have actually seen the new readers in the subway system? Okay, just a few. If you're interested, if anything strikes a chord here with you, you can go down to Borough Hall station under the building, either by the 2 and the 3, 4 and the 5, or even Court Street on the R line, and you'll see a bright light on one of the turnstiles, and that's an Omni reader. We have installed them. They're at every fare control area, what we call station entry point, and we have been testing them since Saturday with our internal pilot testing team. We will continue testing through the end of May to make sure that we're getting it right. If you see a validator, this little screen on the right, test phase, that's what you're going to see, just so that our everyday customers know that we're not ready for them yet, but it's coming soon. At the end of May, we launch our public pilot, which will run from the end of May to the beginning of December. This will introduce Omni at 16 stations from Grand Central down to Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center, and there will be an Omni reader at every turnstile. It will be hard to miss them. You'll remember tonight because I told you so. And it will also be on all buses on Staten Island. While the public is, let me talk a little bit about the pilot, why we're doing a public pilot. We're purposely keeping it small because we want to make sure that we've got it right. This is the type of system that you don't want to make a mistake. And if we have some glitches in the program, we want to only affect a few people and get feedback from a few people. We don't want to launch it on the entire city and then find out that we made a mess of things, basically. So while the public is testing it, and we have the public pilot going on, we will have our crews hard at work. I see Najani over there, and it's some of the people that Najani works with. I knew. We will have our folks out there modifying turnstiles and adding the additional equipment on. We won't be putting the readers out there, but we will be putting all of the equipment, or as my boss calls it, all of the plumbing work, all of the connections, the electrical work, and the telecommunication lines into the turnstiles, so that once the public pilot is finished in December, then we can actually go out and install lots and lots of readers and expand the system. And we will expand to additional buses as well. A lot of that 6-month period is going to be about fine-tuning the system based on employee and customer feedback. I told you this is a multi-year project. And so I'll just go over the timeline with you. We're most focused, of course, on the imminent features that are being introduced, but I want to give you a general overview. As I said, in May, the public pilot launches from Grand Central down to Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center and on Staten Island buses. And then in the fourth quarter, we will continue with the rollout of Omni readers, which leads us to phase 2, 2020, just a year away. By the fourth quarter of 2020, we will have all New York City Transit subway stations and all New York City MTA buses online for the Omni system. Phase 3 in 2021, we introduce the MTA's Omni card for those who don't have a contactless card or a smartphone. They will be available at an extensive retail network, and we've heard from everyone. We know that a lot of people don't think that there are enough MetroCard merchants out there. I can tell you right now we have about 2,000 retail merchants throughout the city that sell MetroCard. We're currently targeting 4,000 merchants for the sale of the Omni card. And the Omni card will be something similar to a gift card that you see at a Duane Reade. It'll be a contactless card. you will be able to go to the counter and load it up with however much you want to put on the card. We will also, at this point, incorporate the railroad's e-Tix program. For those of you who might be Long Island Railroad riders or perhaps Metro-North riders, they currently have a mobile app called e-Tix. In 2021, Omni and e-Tix will be merged, and you will be able to buy a ticket that will get you on Long Island Railroad and will also get you in at the subway station at an Omni reader. In 2022, Phase 4, we introduced Omni vending machines. So the point is, these are new vending machines that will have all of the Omni capabilities, and because the three systems are merged, Long Island Railroad, Metro-North, and New York City Transit, there will be machines in New York City Transit, there will be machines at Long Island Railroad stations and machines at Metro-North stations, and they'll all be from the same manufacturer, and you'll be able to buy tickets for any one of the systems wherever you are and whatever is convenient for you. Now, just keeping in mind that the way we've laid out the program is, initially, we want customers to bring their own fare media. Bring your card, bring your phone. And then, as we expand, we want customers to buy outside the station, buy at a retail outlet. But in the end, we know that we have to have some means within the station for a customer who is ill-informed, not from the city, not really with it. They come down the stairs and they need a way to be able to buy a fare. So that's why we're putting in these configurable vending machines into the stations. So those are the first 4 phases. I mentioned also other agencies that currently accept MetroCard, like PATH. Our intention is to bring them on board starting in around Phase 3. But our immediate focus is to stick with New York City Transit, with the subways and the buses, and make sure that we get that right first before we start bringing on our partners. Assuming that we've gotten all of these first 4 phases right, and the timing goes right, by 2023, we're looking to retire the MetroCard. So let me talk about some of the questions that I'm anticipating, and I will be happy to take your questions at the end of the session. I mentioned earlier that MetroCard will not be retired until Omni can do everything and more, but everything that MetroCard can do. So in anticipation of some of your questions, I'll just say that yes, there will be an Omni card for reduced fare population, such as seniors and persons with disabilities. Yes, there will be some type of Omni equivalent for students. Yes, there will be an Omni equivalent for the city's Fair Fares program. Yes, there will be an Omni equivalent for transit employees. That's the question I get asked at work. And yes, there will be an Omni equivalent for any other product, fare product that we have out there for any special fare program. I didn't mention time-based, and I'd like to backtrack a little bit. When we initially start Omni, it'll be $2.75 a ride, just like a paper ride MetroCard, and we will only be doing value-based transactions when we launch. And I just want you to understand the logic behind that. We will, once the entire system is rolled out, we will introduce fare products like a 7-day pass and a 30-day pass like you have with MetroCard. But it doesn't make sense when only part of the system is on, because I don't want to sell you a 30-day Omni card and then you walk down into the train station and find out that you're in a station that doesn't accept Omni. So to avoid that kind of customer dissatisfaction, we will hold off on introducing other fare products until the entire New York City Transit subway and bus system is rolled out. Now, so I've been up here speaking for at least 10 minutes. You can see that it's a complex system. I'll tell you, it's the best project that the MTA's got going right now. I'm a little biased. But a lot of this is not just about introducing the technology. A lot of this is going to be about educating our customers, which is one of the reasons I'm happy to be here tonight, because I'm educating you about Omni, and then you'll be able to answer your family's questions, your friends' questions, your constituents' questions about Omni. And we'll be back. This is not the last time that you're going to see us. This is to get you introduced into the program, because I need you to be my ambassadors and to sell the Omni program to the public. This is about customer education. So we will have a campaign, a New York City Transit customer education campaign. But in addition, you can probably guess that the credit card companies and the banks are very interested in this program. And so we're getting them to pony up quite a bit of money, and at the same time, we're educating customers with our internal marketing materials, which you might see up on a bus screen or on a screen in the station. People like Visa, MasterCard, Chase Bank, they will also be doing advertising campaigns to educate our customers about what is a contactless card, for example. What is a mobile wallet? What is tap and go? So we have that. I mentioned that we hope to be back at Borough Board meetings to educate and to continually provide information to you. We will have a dedicated Omni website. There will be video content on there showing people how to tap. There'll be social media awareness. I have one of my colleagues here, Molly Washam, in the back, who handles Twitter and social media feeds. And we will have a 24-hour, 24/7 customer support center. So when you call the general 511 number, if you have an Omni issue or an Omni question, the integrated voice response system will you just indicate that you want to talk to somebody about Omni, and we will have specialists that are well informed about the Omni program. On a final note, I just really wanted to talk about security and privacy. We've already done some focus groups, market research, and we know that our customers are concerned about the security of their data and their information. And I'll just tell you a story that I was working on the MetroCard vending machine program in 1999 when we were introducing vending machines into the subway system for the first time. And my friends and family were all telling me, nobody will ever pull out a credit card in a subway station. It's too dangerous. Well, we live in a very different New York right now. We've created, the subways are not perfect, but the environment is much better than it ever was. And if it's convenient, customers will do it. But that doesn't mean we don't have a responsibility to provide a system that's safe and secure. So Omni is using the latest standards for token encryption and that are required by the payment card industry. It's called PCI compliance. It's one of the reasons why testing takes so long, because we have to make sure that the data cannot be stolen. And in the case of a breach, the data is encrypted, so whatever information that they get is unusable. Again, we're working in close coordination with the banks. So the normal fraud protection that guarantees your transactions against fraud from your bank or your credit card issuer will also apply to Omni purchases. Again, all the data is secured and kept private in our back-end data centers. New York City Transit and the MTA does not sell your data to outside parties. And finally, in terms of redundancy and making sure that the system is always functioning, New York is 24/7. We don't have a single hour of the day when we don't have people riding the subways. So we have 2 data centers that are set up in a live situation. And what I mean by that, just to simplify it, is that most data center systems are usually a hot data center and a warm data center, which you basically can kick in 15 or 20 minutes if the system goes down. With this system, we will have 2 fully live systems so that are capable of handling the entire transit system alone. We'll have the 2 of them working in tandem, and if either one of them goes down, the customers on the front end won't ever know that the system went down. So I'm just going to put this slide back up in terms of giving you a couple of the points in the future that we're hoping to achieve, but I would like to open up the floor to questions at this point.
Okay, if anyone has any questions, I'll point to the person. Please state your name in the microphone and whether you're here to represent a board or a council member. So please.
Good evening. My name is Marisela Cano. I'm representing Councilmember Rafael Espinal's office. So my question is more about how much is this project going to cost? I think we all know that there's been a lot of issues with the MTA and issues with funding of the MTA, which is why Albany has just passed congestion pricing. How much is it going to cost and who's going to pay for this?
Okay, so I can tell you that the project contract is $653 million. I can tell you that it was already funded as part of the last capital program. So the funds for this project are in hand, and that's why the project is proceeding. What I would also say, for those of you, believe me, I've heard it before, why didn't we take that money and spend it on, new subway cars? The current MetroCard system is more than 25 years old. It's 1980s technology that was introduced in the early 1990s. The equipment that we have out there, a lot of it is failing, and some parts are not even accessible anymore. The system had to be replaced. However, I would say that we're doing it smartly. So, for example, we're not replacing the entire turnstile. We're repurposing everything that we can reuse. That's one of the reasons why we actually made them out of stainless steel 25 years ago. So the turnstiles, for example, are in good condition, and we're actually utilizing the legacy system, taking advantage of it where we can, and then we are adding updated components to modernize it and bring it into the 21st century.
Sorry, follow-up question. Will there ever be a chance where there will be a deficit to complete the project and there will be additional funding needed?
My understanding is that the project is fully funded at this point. I would just caution, however, especially with successful projects, and I will say that as of right now, this project is on time and on budget, that with successful projects, there's no shortage of people who would like to add additional functionalities, and those additional functionalities always come with a cost. But as of this point, it's fully funded.
Okay, do we have another question? Yes, Ed, please.
Ed Powell, Community Board 14. Is any of this information currently available to the public online or in any other form?
I can tell you that we're introducing the Omni.info website before April 15th. So you'll have FAQs and information about the system by April 15th. But I would also say in an informal manner that my boss gave a presentation to the New York City Transit Riders Council in the last week. And without his knowledge, he was videotaped, and it is up on YouTube. So it is available. It was not meant to be directly available, but it is. But there will be more information coming.
Yes.
Doris Cruz, Community Board 10. I represent Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and we have Staten Island connecting buses. You said it would be available on all Staten Island buses. Does that include the contact to Brooklyn?
I'm sorry, could you just speak up?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I represent Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and we have a bus service to Staten Island. Will that bus service be included?
If it's a Staten Island bus and comes out of a Staten Island depot, it will be included in the pilot program. So are you talking about the buses that come over the Verrazano and terminate at 86th Street?
Yep.
Yes.
And how will it handle transfers to the subway and other buses?
There you go. You win the prize. You got the question that I was anticipating and that I didn't try to tackle in advance. When Omni is completely rolled out, Omni will have transfers just like MetroCard. And for the pilot program, the stations and the buses that are in the program will have transfer capabilities. So for example, if you get off the SIM30 Express bus in Manhattan that you took from Staten Island, and you get off at Grand Central and you go down into the subway and you find the Omni validator and you tap the same card that you used on the bus, you will get a free transfer. However, in this transition period when you have Omni in some places but not every place, it will not be possible to start your trip with an Omni card and then transfer at a station or a bus that doesn't have Omni. So one of the key pieces of the customer education campaign, and another message that I would like you to take away and help me explain to people, is that in the beginning, we're putting our toe in the water. Omni won't be for everyone, and if, for example, if a customer really rides the system a lot and uses a 7-day or a 30-day and it makes financial sense for them to do so, Omni's not for them in the beginning. They should continue to use MetroCard. And if a customer, for another example that's more relevant to your area in Bay Ridge, if a customer regularly rides into Brooklyn on a Staten Island bus and then transfers, for example, to the train at 86th Street or onto a Brooklyn bus, and they do that every day, Omni's not for them in the beginning because they will lose that transfer. They will not have that transfer ability. And we're not looking to hoodwink anybody or pull the wool over anyone's eyes. part of the message is going to be calling to the people who can use it and making sure we get a good test for this pilot period, but it's also making sure that we're explaining to customers, it may not be right for you at the beginning, but by the end, it'll be a beautiful thing.
And I have a second question. The Borough President's Office hosts a senior tech event, which we are very involved in. I think it would be very advantageous if you had a presence there. Maybe not the one that's coming up soon, but the next one.
Maybe not the one that's coming up soon, but we can work on that.
Because well, they're probably not ready for you. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna, you're next, and then Richard, and then this lady, and then, yeah, okay.
Hi,
Your
Janice
last.
Morgan, CB16. The rollout after the pilot, is there a listing or a map of when the installation will take place in certain communities?
So another very good question. The rollout beyond the initial pilot stations has not been confirmed at this point in time. What I would say about that is that the rollout will take into account geographic diversity, so we won't leave any boroughs out. So one of the first things that you'll see when we start rolling out is that a line that's going into Queens will probably be the next line that comes on, because we want to make sure we get some Queens representation in there. What I would also say, having gone through the MetroCard rollout, when we rolled out MetroCard, it took 3.5 to 4 years to get to every station. In this particular case, we'll be starting in December with the rest of the rollout and then ending by October. So when you have such a compressed period of less than a year, I know people are excited about it, and it becomes less relevant who got turned on first and who got turned on last, because within a year, everybody will be turned on and we'll all be in it together.
Okay. And another question, with regards to the Omni Card vending machines, where will they be located? Will they be located on lower levels and not just in train stations? I'm particularly concerned about this because Brownsville, for one, is an underbanked community, and so we have a lot of individuals who don't use the banks, and so they may have trouble accessing these Omni cards or using these Omni cards, and so they may not be able to transition from the from the MetroCard to the Omni the way that other communities that are not underbanked would. And then we also don't have elevators in our train stations. So if the machine is upstairs in a train station, how will we access those machines if we can't ambulate?
Okay, so I'll give you the honest answer from my perspective of running the Omni program. The vending machines will be in the same place or similar places to where the MetroCard vending machines are currently. The key for the underbanked community really is to make sure that we have an extremely robust out-of-system sales network. And when I mentioned Duane Reade and Walgreens before, but recognizing that those chain stores are not always in every residential community. We want to, right now, I can tell you that I told you that we have about 2,000 merchants citywide that sell MetroCard. A lot of them are the corner stores, the bodegas, and we are working on a program with the vendor to make sure that we're not just talking about a Duane Reade, we are talking about the corner local stores, so to make sure that there are out-of-system places for people to buy the cards, and particularly buy the cards with cash. But also, I had mentioned that, for example, we are going to introduce a card that will work for the Fair Fares program, and there will be other cards available. The point is once you get the first card, once you have the card in hand, that you'll be able to, if you can link it up to a funding source, at some point you may be able to. You won't have to go back into a subway station. But you'll be able to refill it also at the store where you bought it.
Okay, and last question. Is there any way that individuals from these low-income communities can be participating in the conversations to make sure that there is representation and that all communities and their challenges are being considered in this rollout?
Absolutely. So what I want to say, I didn't mention it, and this is a design-build project, which is very unusual for the MTA. And what it means is instead of designing the whole thing up front, designing for a 5 or 6 year project up front, we design the first piece and then we build the first piece. Then we design the second piece and build the second piece. What it really allows you to do is it allows you to be nimble and respond to things that you're learning as you're going along the way. What it also does is it allows you to take advantage of the latest technology so that you're not picking, you know, a PC, for example, today, and then you're not putting it in the station for 5 years, and by the time you're putting it into the station, it's already obsolete. But it also gives us this opportunity as we're going along, knowing that, for example, the residential, the retail market is in the next phase. It allows us time to do things like focus groups and getting the communities involved.
Okay, next. Richard, I think you were next.
Richard Flatteau, Community Board 3. Do you have any MWBE requirements for the contract that's being let? And then also, could you talk about any cost savings or efficiencies that you might get as a result of this?
So I can absolutely, I don't have the exact number, I can actually tell you that, yes, absolutely, we have MWBEs associated with this contract, both for the main contract and also for the consulting contract that's associated with it. And those are up to the standards that are set by the MTA's Office of Civil Rights and Diversity. In terms of your second question, cost savings, we anticipate cost savings that are associated. For example, I mentioned earlier that you won't have street side SBS machines anymore. There are certain cost savings associated with that. There's cost savings associated with not having to try to repair obsolete materials, but we don't actually have detailed data or a detailed analysis on cost savings associated with the project.
So related to that, are there any workforce implications to rolling the system out?
I know that there is a long-term plan in terms of transitioning station agents in the booths to wayfinders. That has been in the plans for a long time, and that's independent of this project, actually. But they'll probably be happening in a similar timeline. But that's not as a direct result of this project. And I can tell you also, just to allay your concerns, is that my boss, I don't know if it happened yesterday or happening tomorrow, he's meeting with Tony Utano, who's the head of the Transport Workers Union. And we have given briefings to unionized personnel, not just management.
Ed, did you have a question? Okay. The young lady, I think this young lady was next, and then Crystal was next, and then, I forget the name, Jabron was next, and you have a question? So you'll be after Jabron, okay? Thank you.
Hi, my name's Julia Ehrman. I'm with Councilmember Brad Lander's office. Did you mention whether fare capping would be a part of
Another one of the
this
wonderful
proposal?
questions. Let me just say this, that this new fare payment system will be capable of a lot of things. Fare capping is not a technology issue. The new system will be able to do fare capping. Fare capping is a policy issue, and it has a lot to do with the fiscal realities of the MTA at this point. So fare capping would be an MTA policy decision by the MTA board. The new system would be capable of doing it, but it does have financial implications, and it has to be weighed carefully.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking as you're doing, customer outreach and education about the rollout of the program, that there's some efficiency in deciding those things together. But I also, one other related question is, you mentioned that in the early phases of the program, the transfer capacity, some of the capacity
limited.
of the card will be limited. So is there a plan to make sure that people are aware of those issues?
We have an internal communications plan for communicating to our employees, and we have an external communications plan for communicating to the public. And in terms of the public communications, as I mentioned earlier, we actually have two streams. One is to sort of encourage the people who can benefit or would want to try Omni. So that's one stream, and another stream is to say to everybody else, it's not for you at this time, but here's when it's going to be. So you will be seeing things in the near future.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. Just one final point, I'll be quick.
Please.
Okay, is that I appreciate all this information. It's a really thoughtful process, but just sitting here watching this presentation, it would be really helpful to have larger text on the slides if this is the presentation that you're
I
gonna keep
appreciate the
using.
feedback.
Okay, thank you, Crystal.
Crystal Hudson, representing Councilmember Cumbo. I just kind of want to verify that this is the most modern technology available. I know something at least similar is, in other countries, that they've had in place for a long time. So I just want to make sure that what we're rolling out over the next several years will actually be the most modern technology and not something that everybody else already has.
So, for example, we're the first ones building out a system where we're doing open payments first. You know, in London, they came out with an Oyster card first, and then later on, they introduced your ability to use credit cards and debit cards. The same thing in Chicago, they had the MetroCard. And what we're doing here is using the latest technologies and particularly the latest security standards. And it's actually one of the reasons why we were doing testing last weekend, because the reader that we have, that the manufacturer has provided us with, is a reader that does not exist anywhere else in the world. It's been built brand new for us, and part of the reason that it was built brand new is because of the I'm going to say PCI, payment card industry standards, the security standards. Every year, all of you have heard about breaches, all of you have heard about data theft. So every year, the financial industry changes the security standards, tweaks them, and they're always stricter. So the readers that we have meet today's current security standards, which are the toughest standards, and they're considerably more than, for example, the readers in Chicago or the readers that are being used in London. It is the most modern and secure technology available today.
Hi, Jibran Akram from Councilmember Deutsch's team. My question is, I've seen one of them at 23rd Street on the downtown 6 train.
Mm-hmm.
And my question was, how well guarded are they against someone putting a skimmer on there and reading the information?
Even if you could skim the information from the minute that your payment card is touched to the device, the data is encrypted, so they would get whatever data they got would be unintelligible and would not be of any use for them. They do not have the decryption key. I don't think they're going to have a problem. They're not going to have a problem with skimming.
Thank you.
CB4, is there a fee for the card?
Excuse me, what is your name, please?
Camacho, CB4, is there a fee for the card?
There's a fee for MetroCard now, so there will be a fee for when the MTA introduces an Omni card. I can't tell you what that fee is going to be at this point in time.
So I know, but if we get the MetroCard, if we have one already, you paid and you put money into it, they charge you the fee for the card too if you get one of those cards?
I don't have the details on the fees for the cards right now, but there will be a fee to acquire a card unless you're provided with the card directly through a special reduced fare program, such as the reduced fare program for seniors or for people with disabilities. Yes, Najani?
Thank you for doing my job for me.
Two questions. I'm Najani Ranville from Community Board 8. Do you feel that once this is instituted, there will be less fare beating? Because we had an MTA board member who insists that one of the reasons why there's such a deficit is because there's so many people who don't pay.
Can you go back to the beginning of the question again, Najani?
Do you think that this new system will cut down on people not paying?
This system is not a fare evasion system. This is a fare payment system.
Okay.
Anybody that can evade the fare today in an Omni environment 5 years from now will be able to evade the fare if they're doing the same thing. This is not about fare evasion. Fare evasion is about enforcement and if there is a penalty, to make sure that the penalty is prohibitive enough to make sure that somebody doesn't have a reason for doing it. But this program is not tied to fare evasion.
Okay.
That's a whole separate policy issue,
Okay.
and there's strong opinions on both sides.
And my other question, I believe you said something about eventually the SBS equipment won't be necessary?
That's the SBS equipment that's out on the streets right now
Right.
will not be necessary because
Okay.
there will be a validator on the bus,
Mhm.
and you will tap your card to pay directly on the bus, so that you won't need equipment in the street anymore.
Okay, so now that the curbs have been transfigured for the buses to roll in, those curbs are permanently changed unless somebody is going to take them and put them back. And my question is, what's going to happen to the machinery, the machines that are there to give you the receipts? What is going to happen with all of that?
The machines that are there to give you a receipt right now will be removed from the sidewalk.
Okay.
Whether DOT decides to change the sidewalk configuration is a city DOT question.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions? All right, so I thank you, Mr. Leiden, for your presentation this evening and your teammate for coming.
And I thank you for this
So we thank you.
opportunity, Ingrid.
You're very welcome. We have quorum, but before we take attendance, we'll just have the second presentation, we'll take attendance, and then we'll have the presentation from the Prospect Park Alliance. So joining us this evening, put my glasses back on, is Ms. Madeline Sanders from the Jeremiah Program, New York. So please, and she has one of her colleagues who will introduce herself. Please come forward.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Madeline Sanders. I'm the office manager for the Jeremiah program, and I would like to introduce to you the executive director, Siobhan C. McKay. Hi, good evening, everyone. I promise I will not be before you very long. I thank you for this honor and this privilege to be able to stand before you to present what I have the honor and the privilege of serving as the lead servant, as how I like to describe myself, as Executive Director for Jeremiah Program, New York. I have met a few of you, and maybe you've seen some of our information throughout the community. Jeremiah Program is an organization that has been in existence for a little over 30 years. It's based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jeremiah Program operates in 7 other cities. They made the smart and wise transition to New York City, Brownsville in particular, that's where we are based, back in 2016. And so my aim is essentially this evening is to introduce you to the program, to the work, and to possibly gain your trust in possibly becoming a partner in some way, shape, or form, or a referral partner in some way, shape, or form. And so Jeremiah considers himself to being a place for transformation. Women's lives, children's lives are transformed from the outset to the time that they graduate. This organization's mission is to work closely with women who are single head of household and who are considered low income, who have children under the age of 8. Jeremiah Program's main mission is to work and to eradicate poverty through a 2-generation approach, hence working with single moms as well as working with children. All of us know that children between the ages of 0 to 5, that essentially those are the formative years. And if you can essentially get a child to receiving quality education between those ages, that essentially you are helping to shape a positive academic outcome, a positive trajectory for the child that will yield success ultimately in years to come. Hence, us working with women and children. All of us understand, even though we're not trying to leave the guys out, we love men. However, we know that when you transform a woman, when you help to educate a woman, when you empower a woman, you essentially feed a family. You essentially transform a community. And that is Jeremiah's main mission. These women that you see here posted, you have the printout before you. These are not women that are photoshopped. These are real women. These are women who are from the Brownsville community. These are women with whom we serve. These are women who have been committed to getting their lives back. These are women and children who essentially, these women are enrolled at Medgar Evers College, which is not too far away from us. They are our official higher education partner, and their children, they are all enrolled most of them with the exception of the big guy here, at First Step, which is our partner from SCO, Family of Services. Many of us may be familiar with SCO Family of Services. They are another large not-for-profit here in New York. They offer our early childhood component. We essentially like to function off of 5 main pillars, and I'll go through that. However, our main mission is to transform lives 2 generations at a time. Many of us, I'm sure, have been impacted by women or a woman who has helped us all to get to where we are today, right? I do this work in the name and vein of my grandmother, who I am now a first-generation American-born citizen of, and if it weren't for the sacrifices of her and my mother, I would not be standing before you today. And so because of that, this is where my passion comes in helping these women to attain some of the same opportunities that systemically works to keep them at a space that tells them that they're second-class citizens. And so our main pillars are, we offer support for a career track education. So all of our women are enrolled in either a GED program or they are enrolled in Medgar Evers in their bachelor's or associate's degree program. Why we're linked to Medgar Evers is primarily because of the foresight that the administrators had in understanding that this community, that many folks do not have their high school diploma, although they want to attain a college degree. And so Medgar Evers has innovatively, in my humble opinion, instituted a way in which someone who does not have their GED can attain their GED and then segue into an associate's and or a bachelor's degree program. And so yes, we essentially gear most of our women to that institution because of the supports that are in place for them. Quality early childhood education. Many of our women, as I stated earlier, have their children that are enrolled at one of the SCO sites. So they're either enrolled in First Step NYC or they're enrolled at Morris Koppelman Center, which is located on Saratoga Avenue. They are committed to ensuring that their children become kindergarten ready. That's how we ensure the academic success for the younger children, okay? And now, as it pertains to housing, we all know that there is, a housing crisis in New York. But primarily you figure for single women, if someone is housing insecure, they're not going to go to school. That's not even top of mind for them, right? And so what we do is we work with the support of a family coach to ensuring that they are connected to resources that will lend itself into them being in safe and affordable housing, okay? And then last but certainly not least, we enroll the women in what's called life skills, and they receive personal empowerment. Now, it's not like your traditional life skills and or empowerment course. We understand that maybe you have had some experiences with personal counseling and or coaching, but empowerment is a program that women must participate in before they even gain entrance into the Jeremiah program. Primarily because it addresses a lot of their cognitive, behavioral concerns and attitudes, and a lot of habits and behaviors that has either led them into the situation that they're in, or it addresses a lot of the generational poverty that they've experienced that they don't even realize that they may personally be perpetuating. And so that's why empowerment is actually so very powerful, because the women get to address their attitudes, their behaviors, as opposed to working in the reverse. And so as you can see here, here are our main pillars: affordable, safe housing, a career track and college education, empowerment and life skills, quality early childhood education, and a supportive community. The supportive community, I feel, brings all of those together because they get the supportive community not just solely from our staff, which is our family coach, myself, and the office manager and all of the other persons that are on board to making sure that operations go on, but also with each other. We're really big on fostering sisterhood, and so often there are resources that are available that the women end up sharing amongst themselves. And so we work to foster a supportive community because many of us understand the importance of social capital. Many of us, again, other than having a solid foundation, would not be where we are if not for having a strong network. And so we look to foster that among the women. And so many of the women either remain connected to the program afterwards in our alumni network, or they remain connected to each other. And so to see that bond, for them to understand that though they may have felt like they were alone, that they do not get to do life alone any longer. So when those challenges arise, they have some place or someone to lean on. That helps to make their growing through and going through their journey all the more easier. And so, as I stated earlier, they came to Brownsville in 2016. We know that Brownsville is a big place. We can stay in Brownsville forever considering the number and the population there. But I don't have to read the stats to you. I know this seems very small, so my apologies, because I thought about that before we left the office, and you can see that there. But the stats essentially list the number of persons there are who are single parents in Brownsville. Only 17% of the women who are African descent who reside in Brownsville actually attain a college degree. We want to help to change those. We want to just help to do our part in adding to the progress. And so as you can see here, this is just some information that essentially tells you what we're doing, what we've done, and what we're doing to date. Essentially, in every place that I've had the opportunity to speak and people who I've had the opportunity to come in connections with, and I'm grateful for the fact that I've been able to connect with some of our council persons who see the added value of this not-for-profit in the community of Brooklyn and New York City. It's not like every other not-for-profit, quote unquote. Many of the not-for-profits throughout New York City, they work and offer programs in silos. This particular program is different primarily because we offer a holistic approach. We take into consideration the whole person. And so essentially to date, we have moms who are in the program that we're serving, and we're actually, in fact, preparing to adopt another cohort this spring. And so the staff is really working hard to make sure that that happens alongside our partners. And we're working in tandem with not only working with SCO Family of Services, but also Community Solutions, for any of you who are familiar with them, who is a developer, who essentially is responsible for developing one of the traditional locations. So I invite you all to look, Jeremiah, up on the website, and you'll be able to see the other locations and to see the evolution of the program and the many different ways in which the program is actually offered. And so though we offer it to folks in the community that already have housing, there will be a housing component that will be offered at some point within the next 3 to 5 years, because we have acquired the land through our Housing and Preservation Department, HPD, which will be located on Livonia, which some of you may be familiar with as a part of the HPD rollout. But we're excited about that because, again, the opportunity that it lends itself. And so that's just only a part of our long-term goal, in that we're looking to offer this program to not just those who are residing in Brownsville, but our aim and hope, which is why I'm before you, is that we'd like to spread throughout the borough of Brooklyn. Brownsville is our hub, it's our base. And so we want to service as many women as we can. And so we're going to do that while we have the opportunity, strength, and of course the support to, and just go on from there. And so now I will take any questions, because I do know that you have more on your agenda items for anyone who may want to know anything about it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Najani, please.
I'm just curious,
Please say
how are
your
you
name.
funded?
Najani, please.
Najani Granville Community Board 8. I just want to know at this point, how are you funded?
So when we originally began in New York, we actually had a lead angel investor, and that's how we were funded originally. And of course, since that time, we've been able to, thankfully, and successfully diversify our funding streams. And so now we have a mix of still personal funding support from individual donors as well as foundations, as well as now we are working to tap into the government market. We receive support from our council member's office because, again, as I stated earlier, she sees the value add in this program, and I'm looking to expand that.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, so I thank you very much for your presentation. It was nice to meet you.
Thank you.
So Karen, could you please take the roll call? And I want to take a moment to welcome Councilmember Eugene. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, Community Board 1. Community Board 2. Community Board 3.
Here.
Community Board 4.
Here.
Community Board 5. Community Board 6. Community Board 7. Community Board 8.
Here.
Community Board 9. Community Board 10. Community Board 11. Community Board 12. Community Board 13. Community Board 14.
Here.
Community Board 15.
Present.
Community Board 16. Community Board 17. Community Board 18. Councilmember Inez Barron. Councilmember Cornegie.
Here.
Councilmember Lori Cumbo.
Here.
Councilmember Keim Deutsch.
Here.
Councilmember Raphael Espinal. Here. Councilmember Matthew Eugene.
Here.
Councilmember Justin Brannon. Councilmember Kalman Yeager. Councilmember Brad Lander. Councilmember Stephen Levin. Councilmember Alan Mizell.
Here.
Councilmember Alika Empri Samuel. Councilmember Carlos Menchaca. Councilmember Antonio Reynoso. Councilmember Mark Traeger. And Borough President, on behalf of
The Borough President's office is live in center, and I want to welcome all of the new members who are here today representing the council members or the community boards. I hope to get to meet you after the meeting. I'm Ingrid P. Lewis Martin, the Senior Advisor to Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams, and I welcome all of you to the Borough Board meeting. So the first thing we need to do is to accept the minutes from the February 5th meeting. I believe my colleague Anthony covered for me at the last meeting. I wasn't present, so I thank you, Anthony. And we didn't have quorum, but thankfully we have quorum today. So may I please have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, so we'll have a vote. Oh, excuse me? Yeah, we said, well, I asked a motion to approve the minutes, and I said the February 5th minutes. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? So we have one abstention. Okay. We also have, we have to approve the March, what was March's date? March 5th as well? March 5th minutes. May I please have a motion to approve the March 5th minutes?
Motion to approve the March 5th minutes.
That's Richard Flateau. Do I have a second?
Second.
Who's the second?
Camacho.
Oh, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? So we have one abstention. Okay, so both minutes were approved by this body, so I thank you. So now we have a presentation by the Prosper Park Alliance on the Tennis House restoration, Grand Army Plaza, the Archway restoration, Harmony Fitness and Shade Structure, and the Endell Arch restoration. So that's 5 presentations. Representing the Prosper Park Alliance, we have Justin Hillner, and Sheena Enriquez. So who's going to present?
Hi, I'm Justine Heilner. I'm the Senior Landscape Architect at Prospect Park Alliance, and these are my colleagues Sheena Enriquez and Serena Rabinowitz. They have both been working on the architecture projects that we'll talk about, but in the interest of keeping things smooth, I'm just going to talk through all of the projects. We do need a vote to approve these projects. I don't know if you want to stop after each project or vote at the end.
No, we should just go and then vote.
Great.
I think it's better.
And this is my advancing tool. Okay. So we have a big list of projects that you probably are all familiar with because they are coming out of your districts, some of them. Different districts around the park, and that's why we come here to Borough Board, because we don't have one, just one community board for our projects. The first project that we'll talk about is Parkside Avenue and Ocean Avenue sidewalks, then the restoration of the tennis house, then Grand Army Plaza arch restoration, Harmony Fitness and shade structure, and Endale arch restoration. Here's a map of the park to locate the projects. Parkside and Ocean Avenue sidewalks is a restoration of the sidewalks on Ocean Avenue, part of Parkside Avenue, and then the entrance to the park where those two avenues meet. Tennis House is the building that is near the band shell that has not been in public use for the most recent history, and this project will turn it back into a public use facility. Grand Army Plaza Arch, I think you're probably all familiar with that. We'll be coming back to you to talk about the landscape at a later date, but right now we're just talking about restoration of the arch. Harmony Playground is actually two participatory budgeting projects that have been combined. It's a shade structure for the playground and a senior fitness area right next to Harmony Playground. And finally, the Endale Arch. This is a privately funded project, but we still would like public approval of what we're going to do as we move forward. So, Parkside Avenue and Ocean Avenue sidewalk. This has been a long time in the making with funding from several different parties, including Councilmember Matthew Eugene, Borough President Adams, and the Department of Transportation. The goals are to restore the sidewalk pavements on both Parkside and Ocean Avenue, restore the pavements, plant trees where trees are missing, restore site furnishings, and add lighting or restore lighting, so that we have the same high-quality sidewalk that we have on other parts of our park perimeter. Flatbush Avenue is under construction now, so this will kind of complete all sides of the park, or get close to that. We also will be repaving the park entrance. As you'll see when we look at the pictures, actually I'm not sure we have pictures, but the project, the entrance used to have a driveway going through it, but we no longer have vehicular access to the park. So we're repaving that area. The paving's in pretty bad shape, filling it all in to make it a nice, even plaza, and also create space for the Shirley Chisholm Monument, which, as we all know, is coming to that location. And finally, as I said, we'll be planting trees, and the big change is adding a bike lane on Ocean Avenue, and that will be at the sidewalk level. So I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail here. So this is a plan showing the entrance, and I think it's a useful one to talk about the bike lane as well as the entrance. On the top, you have Ocean Avenue, and over here on the right, that's Parkside Avenue, just to orient you, and then the entrance into the park. So what we're doing is we're closing off the driveway that used to go right up the middle and making that into a big, even plaza paved with a nice decorative pavement like we have on all of our perimeter sidewalks and like we will do on the restoration on both sides of the sidewalks. And then the bike lane that DOT is proposing will be in the roadway on Parkside Avenue. That's coming in the future. That's not part of this project. But it starts to be part of this project when we get to the plaza. It will come up on sidewalk level and wrap around behind those planters that are there. And then it will stay on sidewalk level as it goes on to Ocean Avenue. And what we're doing is we are taking 2 feet away from the grass that is next to the street on Ocean Avenue and making a bike lane on the street side. So pedestrians are still separate from the bike lane, but the bike lane is also separate from traffic. It's elevated at the sidewalk elevation, and it has a wide 2-foot paved buffer between the cars that are park during off hours and our traffic during commuter hours. And then, as I said, we'll be repaving the entire length, planting trees, having a grass verge, and putting in new furnishings. This view on the right is what Parkside Avenue will look like, and that one is more of a straightforward restoration, just fixing the pavement, planting new trees, adding park lights, and adding furnishing. And this is a view of the entrance. It looks pretty blank right now, but Shirley Chisholm is coming, so that's a separate project, but we're creating the space for it, and we'll be working with the artist that is selected to help make that monument a reality. Any questions before I move on to the next project?
Yes, do we have any questions? We'll ask questions in between each project. And let's try to limit our questions to one if we can. Okay, say your name, please, and who you represent. Thank you.
My name is Julia Ehrman from Brad Lander's office. I'm just curious, can you explain why you decided to narrow the sidewalk in order to put the bike lane in?
The sidewalk itself is not actually narrowing. What we have now on all of our sidewalks, except Flatbush, which is going to be this condition, is 10-foot wide grass or cobble strip with trees in it, then 10-foot wide sidewalk, and then another 10-foot wide grass strip next to the street. So what this does is it's narrowing that second verge, as we call it. The second grass strip will only be 8 feet wide. So the sidewalk itself is not narrowing, but the grass planter will be 2 feet narrower. And then DOT is giving up some roadway to fit this 8-foot wide bike lane.
Do we have any other questions?
Ed Powell, Community Board 14. Just for clarification, the bike lane then is not taking away from pedestrians or from traffic?
No.
Vehicular traffic?
No. The way that we figured out to do it was that there is a wide painted buffer in the middle of Ocean Avenue, and that's being narrowed. The travel lane, the travel and parking lane that you see in the image here where the cars are parked is also being narrowed by a couple of feet. It was quite wide before and actually has a temporary bike lane in it now. So basically the buffer and that one travel lane are being narrowed to make room. Plus we're giving up 2 feet of the grass in the sidewalk area.
Do we have any? Yes.
Lorenzo from Councilmember Espinal's office.
Lorenzo, do you have a last name?
Brea. Lorenzo Brea.
Brea, thank you.
Espinal's office. Those figures of the funding that you would receive from, well, at least the Department of Transportation, is that confirmed?
Yes.
If it is voted for in this meeting?
It's already funded.
Okay, so you'll receive it whether it's voted in this meeting or not?
We already have the money.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Do I have any other questions? Okay.
Okay. Next project, reconstruction of the tennis house. And this is a project that both Sheena and Serena have been working hard on, so if they want to correct me or if you have any questions that I can't answer, we'll have them jump up. So this project has been funded by the Brooklyn delegation, by Mayor Bill de Blasio, and there's a grant from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation because it is a preservation project. The main goals are to reestablish the tennis house as a public use amenity for Prospect Park, and to restore its historic elements, provide an accessible bathroom, provide a small area for concessions, and restore the covered shelter area in the middle, and also renovate the cellar level for a more flexible use. This building, which you may or may not have noticed very much because it hasn't been used for the public, is a really beautiful historic building that has been used by New York City Parks maintenance staff and Prospect Park Alliance's landscape management departments. So we'll be moving them out of this building, and in doing so, we can restore it to public use and let people enjoy how beautiful it is. So, as I said, the goals are basically to do those things. Here are a couple pictures of how it looks now. This entrance is the only entrance, so one of the things that we're looking at is how to separate service vehicles entrance from the pedestrian experience of it, restoring the surfaces and materials of the building, and also the pavements around the building. Here's a view under the open air arch, the open air that goes pavilion, where people might want to sit, have a snack, get out of the sun. Here's a view of that pedestrian path that we're proposing. So as people come from 9th Street, pedestrians will be able to approach the building more toward the front of it and see that beautiful facade, while service vehicles can enter to the back. Here's a drawing of the front of the building, and some of the things that we'll be doing are replacing broken roof tiles, uncovering and reinstalling gutters, repairing the chimney, repairing window screens, restoring windows where needed, cleaning the brick, cleaning the limestone, etc., and then basically restoring the whole exterior of the building. Inside, this is a section cut through the building so you can see how it will be used. The attic floors will be used for storage. They're not really acceptable for office use. There will be a new restroom, the pavilion area where people can gather, a small prep kitchen for whatever concessionaire might be working out of the space, and then the multi-purpose spaces below that could be used for meetings or for small groups. And we're designing it now to be quite flexible so that as different uses come up, we can put it to use for the community. Oh. Questions?
Hi, Janice Morgan, Community Board 16. What's going to be the occupancy of this building, and is it going to be somewhat equivalent to the picnic house in terms of its uses?
Sheena's going to come up and address this question.
When the project is open, anyone from the public can come to this restored pavilion area. It will be open. I'm sorry. Oh. And it's different in that way from the picnic house where you have to rent it or reserve it. So this area will be open to the public the same times the public restrooms are open, which is seasonal, 9 to, or 8 to, I don't remember the hours, sorry, but at the same time that the same times the bathrooms are open, this top area will be open, and but this bottom space is, that is not clear yet.
Any other questions?
Richard Flattel, Community Board 3. What's the total project cost for this? And is there going to be another phase, or is that the end of it for that restoration?
The construction cost for the project is $4.6 million, and at this point we're planning for one phase, which will be closer to 18 months construction time.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, please, the next one.
Thank you. Thanks, Sheena. Okay, next up, restoration of the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arch. So this is the arch in Grand Army Plaza. You might just call it the Gap Arch or Grand Army Plaza Arch. The total budget is $6 million, and that was funded by Mayor de Blasio. The goals are to stabilize the exterior of the monument, replace the failing roof to prevent further water damage, and restore deteriorating interior elements. And the water damage is really the major issue with this building. So this project is purely restoration. It will look the same, but will be safe to go inside. It actually does have an interior. It's pretty inaccessible these days. And the roof really needs to be fixed so that water isn't soaking down through the building, which is what's happening right now. So we'll be doing a lot of those material restorations of the building and preventing further water damage. And then we'll also be looking at relighting the arch. The picture on the left is our Grand Army Plaza arch in its current lighting situation. The color has turned a kind of funky purple-blue, which is actually something that happens as the lights age, and also you can see it's kind of uneven. We have a couple of other examples on the right, the Washington Square Arch and the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, which are more well-lit. So that's another aspect of the project that we're hoping to attack with this funding. Any questions? Harmony Playground, Shade, and Fitness. So this is a combination of two participatory budgeting projects, both from Brad Lander's district, and the total budget is $850,000. We combine them into one because we can get some good efficiencies when we have one contractor doing a project. And also they're right next to each other, so in terms of where the work is happening, these will all be happening right next to each other. The shade structure, the community asked us to design a shade structure to go over the sand pit. If you've ever played there or had your kids play there, it's very, very sunny and there just isn't enough shade. So the name Harmony Playground tells about the project. The playground has a lot of musical elements throughout the design. There are musical instruments and musical motifs in the decoration, and so we went with that for the shade structure and we're designing this shade structure that looks like a piano keyboard. We're in the middle of doing the shade studies and working with a structural engineer to make sure that it's solid and at the same time not ugly or overly imposing in the playground. And we are working to make sure that it's not climbable by children. The fitness area. This drawing here locates where the fitness area is. To my right would be Prospect Park West, and to my left would be the band shell. So right now there's an existing little fitness area right outside of the playground for adults. It's not ADA accessible. It's pretty funky looking a lot of the time, wood chips, and it just has the minimum equipment, which is not so friendly for a lot of users. The seniors in the community came to us asking for something that was designed for seniors in particular, different kinds of equipment, a more accessible approach and area, and something that's more inviting for people who aren't hardcore athletes. So this is what we're working on. We will repurpose a couple of the pieces from the existing playground, existing fitness area. The pull-up bars and the sit-up bench will be repurposed. We will replace the parallel bars because those are not accessible. And we will put an accessible rubber floor underneath them, which is safer and more accessible. We'll also be adding this path from the 9th Street entrance over to the workout area so that people of all differing abilities can get to the site. Then on the left side, we will be adding these pieces of equipment that are more aimed towards people with differing abilities, things that seniors like to use, chest press, balance beam, step-ups with a handrail, and that will be on a surface called bonded wood chip. It basically looks like wood chip, but it feels like rubber, and so it is accessible, it feels softer on your joints, but it has a more naturalistic look. We'll also be planting some new plants between the exercise area and the swings, and removing the fence that is kind of imposing and frankly ugly around the old exercise equipment. So there will still be separation between the two areas, but they will be available for a wider variety of users. Questions?
Do we have any questions?
Again, Ed Powell, Community Board 14. Why was the band shell renovation not included in this project?
That project came to you a couple of years ago. It just was bid out, and so it's further along in the process than this one. That's why.
Yes. Please pass the mic down so the gentleman can state his name and his board, please.
Julio Penny, Community Board 7. Will the playground be inaccessible while the shade is being made?
For a short time, it will, but not the entire playground. I think because of where it's located, we can do it by just cutting off around the sand area while still letting people access. There is another entrance to the playground, so I don't think we need to close off the entire playground while it's being installed. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Okay.
And we have
Number
one
5.
more. Endale Arch Restoration. This is a privately donated project, and the real goal of this is just to restore it to its original beauty. You can see in this drawing from early on in the park's life, it used to be fully paneled in wood and had benches in the alcoves. The wood and the benches are long gone. So the goals are to restore the wood paneling to its original design, provide drainage solution because it is covered with earth and a roadway over it. Water does come down, and so we need to prevent that new wood from being damaged right away. And reconstruct benches in the alcoves, which is a bit of a detective project because we have no drawings and no pictures of what those benches looked like. So we're still working on what that design will be. And to clean all the stonework. It's a beautiful stone arch, and so part of this project will be cleaning that and brightening it up. Here's a picture of how it looks right now from the exterior. You can see the stone is discolored. And here's a picture inside of the existing condition. So the structure itself is in good shape, but the wood paneling is almost entirely gone. The existing masonry has some crumbling bricks because of the water and moisture coming through. The wood paneling is missing. The lighting fixtures are just security lights that aren't functioning, so we'll be taking those out. The alcove woodwork and benches, the benches are missing, and there's damage there. And then the sandstone bases are stained and dirty, so we'll be restoring those. Here are some details of where we'll be doing work. We'll be proposing to restore and install new wood paneling and trim, restoring the details, rebuilding the benches, and cleaning the stone. And then we'll be cleaning the brick and cleaning the granite. In the alcove, we actually discovered that the brickwork and the granite that were once hidden are quite beautiful. So our proposal is to leave those exposed so that people can see how this beautiful structure was made and see the material underneath. And then restore and install wood paneling. And that's it.
Okay, so do we have any questions? Yes.
Laura Singer, Community Board 15. I'm just curious about the lighting. You're taking out the industrial lighting. Are you putting any lighting in?
We are not at this time. The Endale Arch, there's only one other tunnel in the park that has lighting. So the pedestrian lighting on either side seems to be sufficient. That's something that we might look at in another phase further down the road.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, so we'll move to vote. The first item that we will vote on is the sidewalk renovation, I guess, on Parkside Avenue. Okay, yeah, Parkside, Ocean Avenue, the sidewalk. So may I have somebody please make a motion? Please state your name, the gentleman, and you can be the second, thank you.
Doris Cruz, Community Board 10. I make a motion to accept the project.
Thank you.
Second, Julio Pena, CB7.
Thank you. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. May I please have a motion for the restoration of the tennis house?
Kim Robinson, Councilmember Samuel's office. Make motion.
Second? No, I need somebody to make a second.
Pat Baker, Community Board 9, I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I need an individual to please make a motion for the restoration of the Grand Army Plaza Arch, Soldiers and Sailors Archway Monument.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Community
please.
Board 15, Laura Singer.
Second, Janice Morgan.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Abstentions? Motion carries. Number 4, the Harmony and Fitness and Shade Structure, the renovation. May I please have someone make a motion?
Ed Powell, Board 14, I move to approve.
Someone please second.
Second, Julio Pena, CB7.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Abstentions? Motion carries. The restoration of Endale Arch. May I please have a motion to?
Robert Camacho, CB4.
Thank you. You're doing what? You're making
a motion to accept
the Endale Arch restoration. May I please have someone second?
Janice Morgan, CB16.
Thank you.
Second, the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposition? Abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. So I want to thank you guys. You did awesome tonight. It was a long meeting.
Thank you all very much for your patience
Thank
and
you.
time.
Yes. We should have let you go first because you were fast.
We tried.
So you were quick. So I want to thank all of you. We're going to move forward with our meeting. You're welcome. We have a little more to go, not too much more to go. No, I'm going to talk to you. I promise it's going to be open. Please, please don't. It's going to be open in a minute. Who do we have? Any new business here? Do we have any unfinished or any unfinished business? I think that Ms. Najani requested that we leave a copy of our monthly talking points. Last month you mentioned it, so we left them, they're in the back. So that's unfinished business. You're welcome. I wasn't here, but my team remembered, so thank them. Any new business? The council member would like to say a few words, new business.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. I'm going to be very, very brief. My name is Matthew Eugene, and I'm the New York City Council member representing District 40 in Brooklyn. I just want to thank Ingrid and also Ms. Ford, Ingrid Martin, of course, and Ms. Ford for what you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you to both of you. And I want to take the opportunity also to thank and commend all the representatives of all the boards who are here. Put your hands together for yourself, please. I know what I'm talking about because I've been also a member of Community Board 14 for many years before I was elected, together with my brother here, Ed. And the job that you are doing is remarkable. It's a very, very important job. And community boards, they are very, very important government branches. And you are helping all of us elected officials. And also, what you are doing is commendable because after working very hard all the day, you still have to go to your respective community board meeting. This is a big sacrifice. And on behalf of the city of New York and on behalf of all the elected officials, on my behalf also, I thank you so very much. And I'm proud of you, and that also motivates me and pushes me and says, Matthew, you got to do more. Thank you very much, and God bless you. And also to all of you from the Prospect Park Alliance, thank you also for what you're doing for our parks. Because our parks, they are a great asset to all of us. I call the parks the backyard of people of New York, because not everybody has a backyard. And I was very pleased to give funding to one of the projects. And thank you very much. To all of you, thank you very much. And I promise I'll be back.
And I want to thank you. So may I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn, Julio Pena, CV7.
Thank you. Second? Who's seconding it?
Pat Baker, Community Board 9.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.